On this episode of AV Week, Marlin completes the merger of AVI-SPL and Whitlock. The UK court is using Zoom to settle a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. And the biggest verticals that integrators should focus on as we come out of the COVID-19 crisis. All that and more. Next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AV Week, episode 451, recorded Friday, April 10th, 2020. Be happy.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Kramer, AV Beyond the Box, and by Middle Atlantic, what great systems are built on.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us to discuss the news and information we have gathered this week. First and foremost, her name is Dawn Mead, and she comes to us by way of Maryland. Welcome, ma'am.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Tim.
Absolutely. And if you are a fan of Miss Dawn Mead and her cohort, Kelly Perkins, they a brand new AV Social that dropped today. We're recording this on Friday. It posts on Monday, but yeah, go check that out as well. Also with us is my old buddy, Mr. Joe Andrulis. How are you, sir?
Very well, thanks, Tim. Good to be back.
All right. He is from Biamp. And Mr. David Silverstein. David is from D10. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
So a couple things here real quick. First of all, we're doing a second virtual conference because all of my energy wasn't zapped and sucked out of my body this week from this one. Not really. We put together a residential one. Some great people put together some great, fantastic content. Jeremy Burkhart, Mitch Klein, Charlie Kendall, had a lot of help from a lot of people. Really great stuff. You can check out a lot of those sessions on our website. So this week we'll do the commercial side, which is more my wheelhouse. So we're doing 3 days, the 14th, 15th, and 16th. Some really great keynotes. Mr. Dave Labuscus from Avixa kicks us off. Randy Klein, also Chris from Shure is going to do a keynote. We're going to have a couple of panels. We got Chuck Wilson coming by from NSCA, and we have a panel of integrators talking about how to get through this and what they're doing. And actually, one of the ones that I'm looking forward to is my buddy Clive Caldwell is doing a panel for us from AV Magazine, looking at both sides of the pond and what this crisis looks like and what the industry looks like globally after it. So you want to come by. Lots of great education. The vast majority of them will get you some sort of CTSRU. Go to our website right there, smack dab in the middle. You can click on that and you can register. So kicking off this week's episode, and the first story we have actually comes to us from AV Network and SCN. Marlin has completed the acquisition of AVI-SPL and their merger with Whitlock. As many of you will remember, something that feels like 100 years ago, but it was actually only in February, right before ISD. Marlin, the equity partner that owned the majority stake in Whitlock, purchased and partnering the AVI-SPL group together. And so what this means is that we have one big, ginormous integrator. The world's biggest integrator technically got bigger is what happened there. From the SDN top 50 stance, the number 1 and number 3 have now joined forces, and now you have an entity that has over $1 billion. Don, I'm going to start with you on this. As a current customer, you are an end user. The company that you work for, but you also used to be an integrator. What does this mean, both from a customer side and somebody who gets sold by AVI-SPL? They come to you looking for to bid on your work, but also as a former integrator, somebody who would compete against them.
Right. Well, first, my sympathies to all the folks at Diversified. You were nipping at their heels for number 1 with your most recent acquisitions, and I'm afraid they just sort of ran right past you there. So sorry about that, guys. As a former integrator, this is hard because I always worked for mom and pop boutique integrators, and we were always the companies that did great work, and you dealt with our little region, and we were, just stalwart, but always having to compete against these monster companies. And with these monster companies come monster discounts because of the monster volume they're buying. And I'm not talking about the gold-plated cables here. So, as a former integrator, it kind of hurts a little to see the big guys getting even bigger. as an industry wonk or whatever we want to call me. It's exciting that the investment world is continuing to look at our industry and see what we've known all along is that we're awesome and a great investment and invaluable to the business world in general. So they're interested in pursuing us and keep that investment opportunity going for the AV industry. But as an end user, it's a little rough. And Tim, you and I have talked about this several times, both on and off the air in previous shows. Now that I'm an end user, with locations all around the globe, there's this dynamic where we want to have like one or two trusted companies that we can do business with everywhere, that we love and adore and just have a great relationship with. And that's fantastic. The problem is you're only as strong as your weakest link. That's true of chains. It's true of chain businesses. And when I'm looking at an AVI-SPL sized organization, the branch right here in Washington, D.C. might be fantastic. They might not. The branch in, Podunk, wherever, they could be terrible, or they could be the best company in the chain. But the gamble as somebody that's going to be dealing with millions of dollars across an enterprise is, how do I know that the group over there is as great as the group over here? I don't know. And if I'm going to be committing my reputation and my company's money, I want to know that I'm dealing with a company that can do what they say they can do. And, AVIXA certifications and company certifications like Apex, those are fantastic. But when you're talking about an organization that big, you can be Apex and still have Podunk branch that can't do anything as part of your organization because you're so large, you have enough certified people that it's going to be a gamble. So I'm hesitantly optimistic because I will now have more options everywhere. But at the same time, once you get a bad reputation, especially in a company like mine, where my immediate boss, who heads all of AV for the company, for the world, if he had a bad experience with an AVI-SPL, even if you're the biggest in the world, you might not get back in the door. So it's something to be wary of. And I hope the folks listening to this that are high up at AVI-SPL will take heed and say, okay, we want to make sure our training and our business processes are on point at every branch, not just the ones here in the big cities or the ones, in this section of the planet.
No, absolutely. David, as a manufacturer here, what does this do for your relationship with AVI-SPL? Does it better it? Does it harm it to get so big that now they continue to be they continue to be an even bigger presence on the planet?
Well, as a manufacturer, it has some impact, but it's not a very large impact. Let's put it that way. That the standard rule is, 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customers. With an organization this large, you could actually be doing 90 or 95% of your business through this massive integrator that now is AVI-SPL. But you certainly don't want to have, you certainly don't want all your eggs in one basket, so to speak, right? To keep that balance going. But the other side of it is these two organizations in particular were so well organized and so well run that there's not going to be a big change in the way they do business or how we operate with them from one company to the other. In other cases where you've seen even AVI-SPL pick up much smaller companies or much different companies than themselves, there were more changes in, we had to deal with these other people this way, and now it's AVI-SPL, we got to change things. But the way Whitlock operates and the way AVI-SPL operated were so much similar that it should be an easy merge between the two organizations. And from a manufacturing point of view, I don't think it's going to affect us very much at all. We'll just keep dealing with AVI-SPL and away we go.
Yeah. Joe, David mentioned the fact that this could adjust some of those percentages, the 80-20 rule. What is the danger there? I mean, it's putting, as he said, all your eggs in one basket. Right. And as a manufacturer, is this a case where you guys start going more outreach, right? Where you actively search for, maybe the dealer that you guys haven't been introduced for. That's why some of these, the fact that we don't have trade shows right now is a little bit of a bummer, because you don't have those ready-made connections, and so your team needs to do some little bit more outreach right now.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't think that that's unique to this period. We've always been taking that philosophy. So we have got thousands of dealers, and there's no doubt that AVI-SPL with Whitlock is huge and a big influence, very important customer for us before and will be in the future. But having said that, we still have a very vibrant and diverse group of dealers. So notwithstanding some of the challenges that Dawn mentioned about managing a far-flung enterprise, and realizing some of the benefits of it purportedly to be able to support organizations globally, which is quite true, there's still going to be some variability depending on the office. But that's not really a whole lot different than what you have if they had remained independent and you had to buy from separate dealers because you didn't have one big organization, and you still had to deal with the variability. So I think that the differences from a manufacturer's point of view, and even for a lot of the end users, may be a little bit less than it may at first appear based upon the size of the deal.
Thanks so much for watching this first segment of AV Week. To see the rest of the episode free, click on the link below or go by the website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv.